Today's episode is for the person who's been trying everything to get their diet to help them feel better, and they're still stuck. They're frustrated out of their minds. I've totally been there. And this episode is for you, and it's about troubleshooting your diet. Stay tuned. Hi, it's Jordan Reeser, and welcome to this week's episode of SC Lifestyle TV, where each week we give you one simple, actionable step that you can use towards better digestion. Now today I'm talking about troubleshooting your diet, okay? So recently I was at a Weston A. Price Foundation meetup here in Bozeman, Montana. I was given a talk about healing your gut. And I started the talk by asking how many people raise their hand, how many people are here because they changed their diet because of a chronic digestive health issue. So I got about 75% of the people raise their hands in attendance that night. Now I asked them to keep their hand raised if they still had digestive problems. And I would say 60 to 65% of the people still kept their hand raised. That's a lot of people that changed their diet just to improve their digestive problems, and they were still having issues. If you're watching this episode today and you're still having digestive issues, even though you've changed your diet, whether it's GAPS, SCD, Paleo, Weston A. Price, if you change your diet and you're still having issues, you gotta put on your troubleshooting hat. You gotta think like an engineer and start testing and tweaking, and that's what I'm gonna talk to you about today. All right, so the first thing, when we start talking about troubleshooting and testing and tweaking and being an engineer, when we start talking about troubleshooting your diet, the first thing we need to talk about is the Four Horsemen. Okay, many of you have heard me talk about the Four Horsemen over the years, right? And this is something we've been talking about for years and years and years because we started helping people transition to the specific carbohydrate diet, and they were eating all these foods that were okay and legal on the diet, and they were still having all these issues. And interestingly, these are the same 4 foods that I couldn't tolerate for my first year and a half on the diet. Okay, so when you're talking about learning about the Four Horsemen for the first time, or you've already heard about it, this is a good reminder. Now the Four Horsemen are as follows in this order. Now these are the most reactive foods that are okay on SCD and a lot of other diets, but they still cause people a lot of issues, especially people coming in to change their diet and that have digestive problems. Okay, so in this order, these are the Four Horsemen. Dairy is number 1, okay? Then egg, then nuts and nut flours, and then fruits and honey. Okay, and those two go together, and I'm going to explain in a second. So, number 1, dairy. If you're somebody who has digestive problems and you think you have leaky gut or small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, you're probably going to have an issue with dairy. The casein protein in dairy is very reactive, causes a lot of problems for people, and that's the number 1 Four Horsemen that you need to remove from your diet. Okay. Number 2 is eggs. A lot of people come to these types of diets and they eat egg every morning for breakfast because it's the most important meal of the day, right? No, mostly because we don't know what to eat for breakfast. If you're like me, you ate cereal for your whole life. So coming to this type of diet is a weird thing. An egg is an easy fallback. So people tend to eat a lot of egg. And if it's a problem for you and you're eating it every day for breakfast, you're not going to get better. So that's number 2. Number 3, nuts and nut flours. This is a huge one. So many people come to these types of real food diets and they dive right into the nut flours, the coconut flours, right? Almond flour. And they start baking and making cookies and muffins and breads and all these different things and pancakes and whatever else because they want to have the same types of food they used to eat on the standard American diet. It's a huge pitfall. If you're still having problems and you're eating a lot of nuts and nut flours every single day, or you're the type of person that likes to snack, and so you look at your, what you ate at the end of the day and you had 7 snacks of a handful of nuts, that's 7 handful of nuts. I mean, that's a lot of nuts. So if you're eating a lot of nuts and nut flours and you're still having digestive problems, that's the number 3 of the Four Horsemen, and it causes a lot of issues for people. Now the 4th one is too much fruit and too much honey. So yeah, a lot of us come to these diets and we can maybe tolerate some fruit and tolerate some honey, and that's okay. But if you look at what you ate in a day and you realize that maybe you had some applesauce throughout the day or something, and you had the equivalent of like 8 apples, that's a lot of fruit, okay? Or if you're putting honey on everything you eat and just dousing every single meal with meats and fruits and vegetables, whatever, you're putting honey on everything, that's a lot of honey. Okay, so you need to look at what is the volume of honey and fruit that you're eating in a day, because that's a common pitfall too. That's number 4 of the Four Horsemen. So if you're stuck, if you're having a lot of gas, bloating, constipation, diarrhea, stomach pain, those types of issues, and you've changed your diet, look at the Four Horsemen. And now what you need to do is pull all the Four Horsemen out for 3 to 4 days, and then bring them in one at a time and see which one really bothers you. Once you pull out dairy and you bring it back in, it can cause a lot of problems for people. Now, if you're eating SCD specifically, you're not eating any dairy that has lactose in it. So you're eating 24-hour fermented yogurt, you're eating cheese, that type of thing. Now, generally speaking, ghee is the most well-tolerated dairy. So if you're going to bring dairy back in, bring ghee in first, then butter, then try some of these other things like the fermented yogurt and the cheeses, okay? But start with the Four Horsemen. That's the first step in troubleshooting your diet, okay? Now the second step, we talked about some of the common foods that are okay that cause a lot of problems, but what about the question of, are you digesting your food very well? Okay, two of the most important supplements we talked about, digestive enzymes, help you break down those fats especially, and then beta-NHCl to help you digest meat properly. Okay, we've got videos on those. Look up our stuff on digestive enzymes and beta-NHCl and low stomach acid. Make sure that you're actually digesting the food that you're eating well, because that could be contributing to a lot of the issues that you're having. Now the third thing in troubleshooting your diet, so we talked about some food you can take out and reintroduce. Okay, we talked about some supplements you can use to make sure you're actually digesting your food. Now the third thing is a little more complex. If you've changed your diet, you've tweaked and tested the heck out of the Four Horsemen, and you're making sure that you're taking those enzymes and beta-NHCl and digesting your food well, and you're still having issues, you're still having symptoms, then you gotta go a little deeper with some testing. You gotta work with a skilled practitioner. You need to test for SIBO. You need to test for parasite and bacterial infections. Okay, those are the first steps in looking at what might be issues for you. Okay, so work with a skilled practitioner. Get your GI tract tested. Make sure you don't have any gut dysbiosis or infections that are causing the symptoms. And if you follow those three steps in that order, you can troubleshoot on your own until you get to that third step when you got to work with a skilled practitioner. But you can do this. If you're determined enough and you've worked this hard to change your diet and you're still having some GI issues, you're just a couple of tests and tweaks away from finding the custom diet and custom supplements that are going to work for you. So just hang in there. Keep your engineering hat on like us, and just keep troubleshooting, keep tweaking, and use the tips in this SC Lifestyle TV video to start troubleshooting your way to symptom-free life. This has been Jordan Reason with SC Lifestyle TV, and that was your one simple, actionable step that you can use towards better digestion. We'll see you again next time. I almost forgot. Share the love. Share the love. What does an engineering hat look like anyway? I'm gonna have my video guy try on a few hats. Is this an engineering hat? What about this one? Is this a good engineering hat? I don't know. You tell me. Leave it in the comments below. What does an engineering hat look like? I keep saying that, and I have no idea what it actually means. Test and tweak like a mad scientist. I'll never forget, we first started calling ourselves health engineers, and people were just totally upset by that. Like, what is a health engineer? It's not a real thing. You don't have a degree in that. Health engineers aren't real. I don't trust you. I don't trust you. You're making this up. You're making this up. This can't be real. How can any of your stuff be real if you're making up your health engineering degree? It's cool, man. You could be a health engineer too. You just have to put your engineering hat on. You know, the one that we talked about before, that, yeah, just put that hat on and you're officially a health engineer.